If I was to ask you, what are you investing in right now? You would probably say something like stocks or real estate, maybe even crypto or your business, something like that. But the problem is that you are thinking about what are you putting money into and not the broader and more real picture of what investing truly is. See, society has blinded us to think that investing just has to do with money. In reality, that's only 20% of the things that we truly invest every single day. There's actually 5 different resources that you are investing every single day that ultimately dictate how your life is going to end up. And I call it your teams: your time, energy, attention, money, and soul. See, society has brainwashed us to only think about investing in terms of money. That way, society can suck all of our teams away from us because that's what society runs off of. It's not necessarily evil or anything. It's just a machine, and it requires our time, energy, attention, money, and soul in order to be able to function. And before I get into it and you think I'm crazy, think about your phone that we carry with us literally everywhere that we would have a hard time doing our everyday life without, right? What is this ultimately trying to take away from you every single day? So let's quickly break down why it's so important that we need clarity around how we are investing each one of these things on a regular basis. Because if we aren't paying attention to how we are investing them, then somebody else is doing it for us. And before I get into these, I want you to understand that anytime I say society, what I mean is I'm talking about any external force that is trying to take these resources away from you. This could be the government. This could be, large corporations throwing ads at you, media and television. It could be your family's expectations of you. These are all aspects of society that are trying to take our teams away from us. So the first one is time. This is our most finite resource, and it's the one that we have no idea how much of it we have left. But the one thing that we do know is that every single day we get 1,000 minutes to invest. So there's 1,440 minutes a day. Some of that we got to spend for sleeping. So about 1,000 minutes is what you have to invest in things that are going to help you build the life you want. That's why it's so important that we're paying attention to how we are utilizing our time, because if not, it's one of those things that really slips away when we're not paying attention to it. Energy is one of the resources that continues to dwindle as we get older. And it's something that we really have to pay attention to, because without energy, we can't do anything. We can't type on our computer. We can't enjoy a date night with the person we love the most, or, go golfing or scuba diving or enjoy any of our hobbies, right? So energy is all managed by our nutrition, our sleep, our fitness. These are investments that we can make in order to boost our energy levels, to make sure that we can be efficient and ultimately, really enjoy the life that we've set out for ourselves. So when I was initially coaching people around this concept of the things that we invest, I didn't have attention on there. This was a late addition because I realized something. I was like, if I'm out on a date with my wife and she's sitting here trying to tell me something, but I'm just staring at my phone going and looking at other things, is that date going to go well? No, she's going to be super mad at me by the time that we're done, right? I could be like, honey, I spent time with you. I was physically there with you, but she would just be like, you weren't paying any attention to me. If you were going to do that with a client at your job, right, they would be upset at you. So it's important not just to give people our time, not just to give them our energy, but to give them our attention too. Because what do you get when you combine time, energy, and attention? You get focus. And that's ultimately what matters and what dictates what's getting done. And here's the interesting thing about attention. They've done studies on this. They have measured the stress levels of people who were sitting on a beach in a tropical location while they had their phone screens in front of them and were actually doing work. And they found that their stress levels were exactly the same, even though they were on a tropical location, as they would be in the office. So our attention has a huge impact on our health as well. So here we are, we're back to money, the most common one, the thing that we all think of when it comes down to investing. And why is that? That's because that's the one society wants us to focus on the most, because that's the one that it needs ultimately in order to be able to function. It needs money moving around. But here's the problem. If we do not have clarity on what we want for our lives, if we do not know exactly what it is we are trying to build, then we are probably using our money in ways that don't benefit us, but benefit society. Okay. There is always something. What is the point? Why are all of these forces trying to get access to our time, attention, our money, and our soul? Well, our soul, right? It's ultimately to get access to our money because that's what we are trading our time, energy, attention, and soul for is money in a lot of situations. We call that a job. So it's important for us that because money is the end result of what we are investing these other things on in the majority of situations, we need to make sure that we are tracking it in a way that enables us to have a fulfilling life. Now, to the most game changing resource that we all tend to ignore, and that is our soul. How are you investing into that? How are you growing as a person? What are you doing to enable yourself spiritually? Are you doing the things that give you purpose and meaning and create significance in this life? If everything was just about managing our time, energy, attention, and money, then nobody would ever get sick and tired of the job that they were at. But a lot of times we end up working in things that, maybe aren't ethical or, we're doing a job that we just aren't passionate about anymore. And therefore, even though it might be giving us a lifestyle that we want where we have lots of time or money or whatever the case may be, we still want to quit and we want to go do something else because our soul is not being fed. This is one of the most important things that we have to pay attention on how we are investing. Every minute I spend with my kids is an investment into my soul. Me going out and enjoying my hobbies, playing golf or scuba diving or playing sports, guess what? That is an investment in my soul. I'm in having pleasure in the things that bring me joy. Time when I'm on dates with my wife and investing in our marriage and the life that we're building together. Anytime that I pray or I read my Bible, these are investments into my soul. And it is important for the rest of our team to be effective that our soul is being invested in as well and is healthy. Because you can be super efficient using your time, energy, attention, and money. But at the end of the day, if your soul is not satisfied, that's where things like burnout happen. That's where things like emptiness tend to creep into our lives. That is why we cannot ignore this. So, what I'd like to challenge you on today is to stop asking, what am I investing in? But instead ask the question, how am I investing my teams? Are you protecting your time and energy, or is it being drained on autopilot? Are you truly present in all the things you do, or are you just physically there? Is your money being spent and managed in a way that is fueling a vision you have for your life, or is it just ending up where it ends up? Is your soul lit up and on fire, and are you excited to wake up every single day, or are you just trying to get by? When you change how you invest your teams, you'll end up changing your life.